Have you ever seen two sisters bound by fame, fortune, and family stand on opposite sides of an emotional battlefield, knowing that one wrong word could tear everything apart? For years, Kourtney and Kim Kardashian have been at the heart of one of reality television's most infamous sibling feuds. From explosive arguments caught on camera to icy silences behind the scenes, the tension between these two sisters became something deeper than TV drama, became personal. But now, after years of resentment, emotional distance, and public speculation, Kourtney and Kim Kardashian finally confront their long-running feud. The air was thick inside the Calabasas home. Cameras stood still, lights dimmed just enough to feel intimate yet charged. You could hear the faint hum of the equipment, but it was the silence between Kourtney and Kim that made the entire room tremble. The Kardashian-Jenner family has seen countless conflicts, jealousy, business rivalries, emotional outbursts, but this moment felt different. This wasn't about ratings or a storyline. This was about sisterhood. This was about healing or the impossibility of it. As the crew adjusted their lenses, Kim sat rigid on one side of the white couch, dressed in muted beige, her tone calculated, her posture controlled. Kourtney, on the other hand, exuded quiet defiance. She crossed her legs, her arms resting loosely. But her eyes told a story of exhaustion, years of holding and hurt, of feeling unseen for years. Fans of Keeping Up with the Kardashians and the Kardashians have watched this feud unfold like a tragic family saga. What began as simple disagreements over work ethic, fame, and lifestyle choices soon evolved into emotional wounds that even family therapy couldn't mend. It wasn't just about who worked harder or who got more attention. It was about feeling misunderstood. Kim, always the business powerhouse, driven by ambition and perfectionism, often clashed with Kourtney's yearning for simplicity, family, and authenticity. "We're just different," Kourtney once said in a confessional, her voice trembling with frustration. "I don't want to be part of this toxic energy anymore." That line echoed through the Kardashian fandom for years. Viewers took sides. Memes flooded social media. And while the world laughed or speculated behind closed doors, something inside their family dynamic began to fracture now. In this rare confrontation, Kim leaned forward, her tone steady but sharp. "You made me out to be the villain," she said quietly. "You always act like I'm attacking you, when all I've ever done is try to make things work." Kourtney's response was instant, her voice shaking not from weakness, but from restraint. "Because you do attack, Kim. You attack with your words. You attack with your need to control everything. You can't let anyone just be." The tension between Kourtney and Kim Kardashian wasn't new. It had been simmering for decades. Growing up, they were inseparable, sharing clothes, secrets, and dreams. But as fame swallowed their family, their paths diverged. Kim leaned into it, mastering the art of business, branding, and visibility. Kourtney, however, longed for something more private, more grounded. As the narrator, observing from behind the camera, I could feel the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. It was as if every disagreement, every headline, every tearful confessional had brought them to this singular, defining moment. "Do you remember?" Kim said softly, her eyes distant, "when we used to do everything together?" Before all of this, Kourtney smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened. Before fame became the third sister between us, the crew fell silent. Even the hum of the camera seemed to fade. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a reckoning. Throughout the Kardashians' history, few storylines have carried as much emotional gravity as Kourtney and Kim's feud. It was a storyline born from success, but fed by pain. Fans saw it escalate in one unforgettable moment, the physical altercation that left viewers stunned. Kim's makeup smeared, Kourtney in Tercet was raw, real, and impossible to forget. But what the cameras didn't capture was the emotional aftermath that lingered long after the scene ended. Behind the glam, the endorsements, and the million-dollar empire, there was always the question, could Kourtney and Kim Kardashian ever truly forgive each other? In this confrontation, forgiveness didn't come easy. Kim, for once, looked vulnerable. "You've always thought I care more about my image than about people," she confessed. "But you have no idea how much I've done to protect this family." Kourtney's voice softened. "Protect it from what, Kim? From honesty? From me wanting something different?" Her words landed like quiet thunder. There was no yelling, now just truth spilling between sisters who had spent years misunderstanding each other as the narrator. Watching them side by side was almost poetic to women who had built empires from shared DNA, yet struggled to share peace. Kourtney's minimalism and Kim's empire building were reflections of their deepest desires. One sought peace, the other purpose. Both wanted love. Old clips flashed across my mind. Kim crying in the backseat of a car after a fight. Kourtney walking out mid-shoot, declaring she'd had enough. Even Kris Jenner, the family matriarch, once admitted, they love each other so much, but sometimes that love gets lost in translation. It's hard to pinpoint when their long-running feud truly began. Was it the relentless pressure of fame, the constant comparisons, or perhaps the invisible competition that fame breeds? Whatever it was, it shaped not only their relationship, but the very identity of the Kardashian brand. In the middle of the conversation, Kim looked at Kourtney with something rare, genuine remorse. "I said things I shouldn't have," she admitted. "I judged you for stepping away, for wanting to protect your peace. Maybe I was jealous of that." Kourtney exhaled slowly. For a moment, her guard lowered. "And I judged you too," she said, "for needing control, for needing to be perfect. But that's who you are, Kim. You've always been the one holding it all together." Their eyes met. It wasn't reconciliation, not yet, but it was a beginning. As an observer, I could sense that the years of tension were slowly unraveling. The fight that had once been their most painful chapter was now turning into something unexpected. Understanding, the documentary cameras captured every glance, every pause, every flicker of emotion. This wasn't about producing a perfect scene. It was about capturing truth. And in that truth, something began to shift. Kourtney leaned back, her voice softer now. "You know, when I had Rocky, everything changed. I realized I didn't want my kids to grow up seeing me angry at you. They deserve to see us love each other." Kim nodded, her eyes glistening. "And they will. I promise." This wasn't a dramatic hug or a teary apology for the cameras. It was quieter, more human, the kind of resolution that doesn't need applause. As night fell outside, the sisters sat in the dim glow of the living room lights. Two women who had weathered the storms of fame, motherhood, and resentment, now sharing a fragile peace. For years, headlines had painted their feud as entertainment. Kourtney and Kim fight again, sisters at war. But the reality was deeper than any tabloid could capture. Their feud wasn't about hate. It was about love struggling to survive fame's distortion. And in that moment, as the final camera panned out, you could feel it. Something had changed. Kourtney and Kim Kardashian had finally confronted their long-running feud. Not for ratings, not for headlines, but for themselves, for the sisterhood that had always been there, buried beneath layers of pride and pain. As I watched them sit side by side, the silence wasn't heavy anymore, it was healing. The years of bitterness were giving way to something gentler. For the first time in a long time, they weren't business partners or co-stars. They were just Kim and Kourtney. Outside, the moonlight spilled through the glass windows, illuminating their faces. A symbolic reminder that even in the world of flashing cameras and endless scrutiny, family remains the most fragile and most powerful story of all. And so, as the documentary lights dimmed, one truth lingered. The Kardashian empire may be built on fame, but its foundation, its cracks, its pain, its redemption has always been family. In this final chapter, Kourtney and Kim Kardashian didn't just face their feud, they redefined it. What once tore them apart had now become the bridge that brought them back together. And as the credits roll, one can't help but wonder, perhaps the greatest Kardashian story was never about glamour or scandal, but about two sisters finding their way back to love.